Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy us the podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
On this vote, the yeas are 227 and the nays are 203. The conference report is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
And there goes your economy, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Hey, Brett, put this in the prediction folder. And earmark it for, let's say 5 years from now. Yeah, just put it in the prediction. Thank you. Thank you very much. So that was it. The House just voted to pass these ridiculous tax cuts, which, it's the biggest heist in the history of the United States of America since the last biggest heist in the history of the United States of America, which was the Bush tax cuts, right? That crashed our economy. So 2003, Bush tax cuts. 2008, 5 years later, economy crashed. Why? Combination of deregulation, lowering tax cuts in a time of war, and bam, there you go. Bye-bye house. Bye-bye 401k. Bye-bye everything. So I'm predicting 5 years. It may be less than 5 years. Here's what's going to happen, okay? First of all, before we tell you what's going to happen, let's just listen to the denials from the Trump that he will not make a single dime. This is bad for Donald Trump. This is not good for him. This is bad, bad, bad for him.
The rich will not be gaining at all with this plan. We're looking for the middle class, and we're looking for jobs. Jobs meaning companies. So we're looking at for the middle class, and we're looking at jobs.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't benefit. In fact, very, very strongly, as you see, I think there's very little benefit for people of wealth.
I think the wealthy will be pretty much where they are. Pretty much where they are. If we can do that, we'd like it. If they have to go higher, they'll go higher, frankly.
And it's not good for me, believe me.
It's a middle-class bill. That's what we're thinking of. That's what I want. I've had rich friends of mine come up to me and say, Donald, you're doing this tax plan. We don't want anything.
You know, I keep hearing Schumer, this is for the wealthy. Well, if it is, my friends don't know about it.
Oh, my God. Okay. So the American public is not stupid. Most people despise this bill. It has a 23 to 29% approval rating, depending on who's doing the polling, Pew, Quinnipiac, CNN. The president has an approval rating, depending on who's doing the polling. CNN's poll came out in better for Donald Trump than Quinnipiac and Pew. Quinnipiac and Pew have him around 32%. CNN's got him at 35% approval rating. Most Americans are hip to what's going on here. And what's going on here is that this terrible heist that just happened in broad daylight. I mean, you were watching a theft is what you were you're watching grand theft larceny. 83% of the tax cuts go to the top 1%. 83% go to the top 1%. The richest 1% get 1/5 of the tax cuts next year alone. That grows to 83% by 2027. I mean, this is just, and he has the nerve to sit there and say it won't benefit him. Well, of course, this pass-through thing benefits him, and I won't vote for anything that adds to the deficit, not one penny. Bob Corker apparently found out that, he's in the real estate business, and this will benefit him with the pass-through stuff. And so he's a yes. Now, the Senate will vote probably later this afternoon or tonight. House has already voted. 12 Republicans voted no. Just so you know. And what's interesting is when you look at the 12, they're all from high tax states. They're all from states that benefited from the SALT tax deduction, that benefited from high value properties, because, if you live in New York, you can't even live there unless your apartment, your 1,000 square foot apartment is, probably going to cost you about $2 million. So when you look at the no votes, they all came from New York, New Jersey, California, New York, New Jersey, New Jersey, California, New Jersey, New York, New York. And Walter Smith from North Carolina, who, really did vote on principle because he is adverse to adding $1.46 trillion to the deficit. But it was Dan Donovan from New York, no. John Faso, New York, no. Rodney Fringlinghausen from New Jersey. Darrell Issa was a no. Walter Jones was a no from North Carolina. Peter King from New York was a no. Leonard Lance from New Jersey. Frank Lobiondo from New Jersey, no. Dana Rohrabacher from California was a no. Chris Smith from New Jersey. Elise Stefanik from New York. And Lee Zeldin from New York all voted no. No Democrats voted yes. 2 Democrats did not vote. So the tally was 227 to 203, and it passed the House. And this is the conference bill. Okay, this is the conference committee was visited by 5,000 to 6,000 lobbyists, and every day more gifts would go out the window, would go out the door, would go, through the plumbing into the pockets of the very wealthy. What this does is, first of all, this is the most important thing. You know how the president says it's going to create jobs here at home? And people are going to, like all this money, the $2.3 trillion worth of profits that our corporations are already sitting on, that somehow they will stop sitting on it and not use this money to cushion their asses. Okay, that's ridiculous because CPAs, accountants, the Center for Tax Policy, the Center for not the Center, the CBO. Okay, all these groups have looked at what this bill means for ordinary people, and they have deduced that ordinary households will make about $1 a day. $1 a day. Thank you, Donald. Thank you for your thank you for caring about. What are you going to do with $1 a day? And then, of course, 92 million middle-class families will see their taxes increase once this temporary tax cut, which was supposed to last for 10 years, they shortened it to only 8 years. Why? Because there were a couple of things that they were looking at doing, and 2 things cost the same thing. Lowering the top individual tax rate for the wealthiest Americans from 39.6% down to 37%, a 2% decrease for people making, $500,000-$600,000 a year. That cost $80 billion over 10 years. Or they could have helped 24 million working families. And that would have cost $80 billion. Well, they both cost the same thing, and they decided that they would go with lowering the top tax rate. I'm not kidding. That they would lower the top tax rate. And so that cost would have been, you could have made the tax cuts last 10 years. But they decided to make the tax cuts expire for non-rich people, for ordinary families, after 8 years so that they could pass it through reconciliation, so that they could use this irregular order in the Senate, okay, to only need 50 votes. That's what they chose. So this thing expires for individuals in 8 years instead of 10. And they chose. They had to choose between lowering the top tax rate or making these things, extend for 10 years. And they chose not to let it go for 10. It's just unbelievable, the choices they made. There will be now automatic cuts to Medicare next year alone. $25 billion will be cut from Medicare in 2018. The total cost over the 10 years is $400 billion out of Medicare. So the seniors are going to pay for the tax breaks for the corporations and the wealthy. The automatic spending cuts are triggered because of the PAYGO rules that were passed in 2010. And of course, this adds $1.46 trillion. So PAYGO kicks in, and it looks like $25 billion will be cut from Medicare. Also, $136 billion will be cut from agriculture subsidies, military retirement, pension funds, and government pension funds, and more. 13 million families will, see their health care coverage. The cost of their premiums go up 10% next year, as the individual mandate will be phased out And so people don't have to buy health insurance anymore. And, it will take the healthy people and the younger people out of the equation. And so the people who need the health care the most will be left in the pool, which we all know has a negative effect on how much the health care will cost. And so our premiums will go up by 10%, and that is $130 a month for me. So if I'm saving $1 a day, that's $30 a month. But my health care goes up $130. I'm in the hole for $100. See what I mean? Okay. So $314 billion by cutting the individual mandate. $314 billion is going to be removed, and 13 million people will be uninsured, and that causes a 10% increase in premiums. Okay, there's a corporate tax rate cut of $1.4 trillion, and those cuts are permanent. Because the corporate tax rate is slashed from 35 to 21%, and the alternative minimum tax, which corporations, would have to, they would come up against that, meaning they would have to pay something. That's abolished. That's gone. So, and there's new accounting rules too. But listen, I just want to tell you one thing. This is the most amazing thing in the world. Here's why business is going to fly out of the United States. There is something that very few people have talked about, but it is astonishing when you read what the CPAs of America are actually writing now. There is a group, Ann Zimmerman is the co-chair of the Business for Responsible Tax Reform. It's a coalition of small businesses and organizations. And she is the founder of a giant CPA company called Zimmerman and Company. Okay. And they do their accounting. They're a public accounting firm with offices in Cincinnati and Cleveland. Okay. This is, the Rust Belt. Okay. She says, as a CPA, I could be celebrating the loopholes because they thickened the tax code. Okay. They added all these crazy loopholes. They didn't simplify the tax code. That's a lie too. There were seven brackets. Guess what? There's 7 brackets. And they added all these loopholes. Carried interest is still in there. There's a whole bunch of, lovely gifts for corporations. But she says as a CPA, she should be celebrating these, the adding of all these loopholes that, formed the 500 pages of this bill. So she writes, as a CPA, I should be celebrating these loopholes. After all, I would be able to save my clients a lot on taxes and could be invited to fly along to, say, the Cayman Islands to set up an offshore account under the new regulations, 4 days at the beach with a fully stocked hotel, mini bar, and all the HBO and Showtime that I could watch, all fully deductible from me and my clients. Sounds nice, right? She says, wrong. As someone who serves small businesses and has for more than 30 years, and the co-chair of an organization called Businesses for Responsible Tax Reform, I am not cheering. Small business owners are not cheering for the bill either. And here's why it's exactly the opposite. She says, the bill, despite the glossy, small business friendly language being used to sell it, actually does more to widen the tax advantage gap between large and small businesses than the present tax code does, which is already tilted towards big business. She said this bill tilts it even more thanks to the change, and this is so important, from a worldwide tax system, which requires that United States companies pay Uncle Sam taxes on all their profits regardless of where they earn their income, to something called a territorial system. This means companies don't owe taxes to their own governments on income they make offshore. Guess what that means? Well, if you're a big business and you're looking to shield your profits that you make overseas, you're going to move the whole damn company overseas. You're going to offshore much more to gain more favorable tax treatment than is available within the United States of America. This gives significant financial and competitive advantage to big business over neighborhood mom and pops, like we're talking like the dry cleaner, we're talking about your bars, you're talking about your restaurants that aren't chains, you're talking about neighborhood daycare providers. This is unbelievable. All you have to do now is move offshore as a big business, and you don't have to pay taxes in the United States. Where's the incentive to do business here?
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at the Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, and she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. It's life or death for the Federal Communications Commission, and death may be the honest option. After all, the FCC's mission to regulate communications media in the public interest was forged long ago in a time very different from our own, and it's been beaten to a pulp by politicians of both parties over the last 2 decades. Now Donald Trump's FCC chair Ajit Pai wants to kill the wounded agency off, and he may have done it to all intents and purposes at the Commission's meeting this December 14th. The history of the agency goes back to a time when new technology was bursting with potential and open to a use or abuse with devastating implications for democracy. Its mission was forged by movements long back who understood that the nation teetered on a brink. Would we be the land of misogyny, white supremacy, militarism, anti-Semitism, and anti-immigrant bias, or something better? At the time, world capitalism was accumulating unchecked. The social justice movements of the 1920s and 30s disagreed about a lot, but they understood from experience that no one of them stood a chance of shifting power or displacing arrogance without a functioning public information system. The future of the nation would only go one way, they said, if only those who could pay could have a say. In the 1940s, under FDR, the chairman of the FCC was a civil rights advocate, one of Rosa Parks' lawyers. Clifford Durr pursued media justice with a social justice passion because he and the movements at his back believed that diversity, localism, and competition was civil rights means to a civil, fair society. All these years on, decades of paid propaganda have many Americans convinced that government has no business meddling in the business of media. Social movements mostly don't get too involved in media regulation either because, well, they believe that, like the AFL-CIO or the NAACP, they can afford to buy big-dollar ads on the big boss's media and cross their fingers that the workers' message gets across unchanged. Reverse net neutrality, open the floodgates to more monopoly. Chairman Pai, a former staffer to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, has in mind to accomplish all that and more, and he probably will. The FCC voted on net neutrality Thursday, reversed the neutral policy put in place by the Obama administration. But that's just the least of it. What surprises me isn't Pai or his pals, it's us. If we don't start learning from our history, and perhaps repeating some of it, we might as well start burning books, anything with democracy in the title. Thanks. I'm Laura Flanders. Write to me, tell me what you think, at Laura, Laura, at lauraflanders.com. And thanks.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
One says the big winner in this whole thing, you put corporations up on top.
Without a doubt. I mean, this is a bet on trickle-down economics. So the Republicans are betting if you give corporations a break, they will then hire more people, give them higher wages, build factories. But that's a big bet. So by lowering corporations' tax rates, they're currently in the high 30s and now down to 21%. That's a huge break. You know, who else is going to benefit from that? Wall Street. Wall Street is getting a break because all along we heard carried interest, which is another kind of hookup. President Trump said all along the trail.
He's going to get rid of that loophole that pads the pockets of hedge fund managers.
Exactly, where they don't have to pay the same capital gains tax that you do. Well, that is still going to be in there. And then a third, I would say, tax preparers. This thing was supposed to simplify everything. Well, those tax preparers, those tax accountants are still going to be working overtime because this isn't tax reform. It's a tax cut. If it was tax reform, you'd be closing those loopholes and simplifying it. Without simplifying it, those loopholes still exist. And when they do, that will always benefit the rich because the rich guy in the company can afford to have someone scratch this, change that, and hook them up to pay less. So if you have to do your own taxes, it's harder. And then the third, I would just say, who really gets hooked up, and he doesn't like to say it, is President Trump and his family, and that's because they're in the real estate business. If you're in the commercial real estate business, you get to consider that pass-through business, a partnership. And so you pay only 29% in taxes. So it is somewhat disingenuous for the president to say, this is a huge tax cut for the middle class, not going to help me. The business that he and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and 13 Republican senators are all in, which is real estate, it's a big win for them.
It's a huge win for them. But, even Stephanie Rule, even, I guess we have to watch CNBC or Ali Velshi or, more. You need to start paying attention now to more of the financial shows because nobody yet has brought up the shift to a territorial tax system. Nobody has brought up the shift that has occurred in this bill. This bill actually encourages business to move out of the United States. This bill is it's opposite land of everything that they sold it as. Okay, small business friendly language was used to sell it, and big business breaks were the reality in this bill. So they shifted from a worldwide tax system in this bill, which means that wherever you made profits in the world, you had to pay American taxes. You had to pay Uncle Sam on all of your profits, regardless of where the income was earned in the world. Now they have moved us to a territorial tax system. Companies do not owe taxes to their own governments on income that they make offshore. And so they will begin to move offshore. If you repatriate the earnings made outside the United States, you have to pay taxes. But if when they shifted the tax code from a worldwide system to a territorial one, these big companies no longer have to pay any tax on repatriated foreign earnings. The U.S. tax is eliminated on foreign income. That is both mean and stupid. So, of course, businesses are going to shift their profits offshore to avoid American tax rates. It means that we are creating a tremendous incentive to reassign or push your profits offshore. Businesses with the financial wherewithal and accounting savvy are going to take advantage of moving offshore. And it's a perfect legal tax shelter now for giant corporations. This accountant that wrote this article who services small businesses, she said that she's already seeing a lot of business owners, including wealthy pass-through businesses, asking about setting up businesses offshore to take advantage of the lower tax rate. She said, who am I not seeing ask about this? My neighborhood daycare provider, the brew pub, the dry cleaner, the small businesses that bring vitality to our communities and ground our lives. She said, as professionals who parse the concrete numbers, not the airy promises of the leaders in Congress, she says, accountants like me are in a position to know the truth about this bill. You cannot fool accountants. So get ready for this mass exodus of business from the United States of America to various locations offshore because the territorial system is going to incentivize offshoring of your businesses. I mean, it's just this is absolutely counter to what America needs to grow. It's just unbelievable when you look at it. There are terrible things in this bill. Working families with children, you got the top tax rate being lowered 2 percentage points. Like I said, 1 year I made $1 million. I actually did. And when you make that kind of money, when you're making $24,000, $42,000 a week, you don't need a $56,000 tax cut. You just don't need it. It's not going to change anything in your life. But when you don't have enough money, at the end of the month. Money is everything. Everything. If you're at the end of the month and you're choosing between paying for health care and you've got some sort of a chronic condition or a pre-existing condition that you're on the wall guarding against recurrence or whatever it is, or you have diabetes or you have, HIV or you have whatever it is that you have, and you're trying to figure out whether or not you could pay that premium, or, which is going to go up by 10% now, or pay the rent, or buy food, or, whatever your ors are, make the car payment, then money is everything. But when you're sitting there, just taking in $25,000 a paycheck or $42,000 a paycheck or more, what the hell? And they're going to cut Medicare this year, Medicaid, $1 trillion. They're going to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. The state and local tax, the amount you can deduct is capped at $10,000, and the income or sales taxes, are included in that. 8 million families are going to see their taxes go up in 2018. Yeah, next year, 8 million families will see their taxes go up in 2018. It will be felt in 20 states. 20 states that claim an average state and local tax deduction of more than $10,000. And that will put pressure on state and local governments, and they will start cutting things like education and healthcare and infrastructure. I mean, this is just, trickle down. The misery index is what trickles down. If you want to grow something, just think about it, just like any farmer thinks about it. You want to grow something, you have to put seeds in the ground, and then it grows. It grows from the ground up. That's nature. It doesn't ever trickle down, ever, never. And you've got, estates that were able to pass on to their very alive heirs the inheritance tax, for people like Ivanka and Jared or whatever. I mean, that thing just went up to, you can now inherit $11 million per person, tax-free, or $22 million per couple, tax-free. That affects 1,800 people, but that was so important to them, and it costs us $83 billion. $83 billion goes to 1,800 people in a tax break. I mean, that's like criminal. That's criminal. Trump owns 500 pass-through companies, and of course, he'll benefit from this, but he's very busy telling you that he won't. So who are the losers in this bill? Well, let's see.
Individuals are getting a cut that's a positive, but it's a temporary cut. Because remember, if you're going to increase the deficit, which we are, by at least $1.5 trillion, you've got to pay for that somewhere. So individual cuts expire in 2025. So come 2026, we hope that gets renewed, but it might not.
A lot matters what state you live in. You could be making a certain income and live in one state and a certain income and live in another, and one gets hammered.
Right.
And you two ladies are getting hammered, as is my mom in New Jersey. So high tax states, high income states, high earners like New York, New Jersey, California, you're out of luck because your property tax, you cannot deduct it. Your state and local income tax is capped. That's a negative, but that's meant to subsidize some of the lower earning states.
Yeah, the blue states are subsidizing yet again the red states. This is just so sick. And of course, the offshore tax dodgers. So, you have these American corporations, and they have $2.6 trillion in profits stashed offshore. They owe us $750 billion in U.S. taxes, right? And rather than make them pay what they owe like the rest of us do, they are going to charge them only $339 billion over a $400 billion discount. So just to give you a real example, Apple will save $44 billion. Microsoft would save $25 billion based on their SEC tax filings. Of course, that they also now have incentive to move offshore and pay nothing. This is the sickest, creepiest, meanest, nastiest thing. And, you know, the Republicans only did it for one reason. Well, they did it for two reasons. One, because Republicans are always the beck and call girls of the very, very wealthy and elite. That is who they are. That's who they serve. That is what they do. And so never expect to have a Republican majority in the House and Senate and presidency and not see corporations get, you know, all kinds of gifts and treats and we end up paying for it. Never, ever expect a different result from the Republicans when they control, you know, this much government. However, they were in this pickle where they had promised, you know, that they were going to do this. And of course, Americans didn't want them to do this, but they hadn't had any successes. So they had to pass some damn thing. And so they did this damn thing. And they're going to lose in 2018. You know, this is as wildly as unpopular as Obamacare was. And if you remember, when Obamacare passed in the midterm elections, Democrats got hammered. And the same thing is going to happen to Republicans in 2018. So that's the silver lining, because, you know, I am a sunny optimist. So I'm always looking for the good news. But in the meantime, watch businesses fly out of the United States of America because they've been incentivized to do this. And nobody's talking about the shift from a worldwide tax system to a territorial one, which is all the incentive that big businesses need to move offshore. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's horrible. Austin Goolsbee, who, you know, I have a crush on. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I think it's his brain. I do. I think it's the power of his humor and his intellect. He debated, what's his face last night? Grover Norquist, who lied through his teeth, and Austin popped him.
The thing is, the American people know perfectly well what this bill is. That's why only 26% of America approves of this bill. This is the Roy Moore of tax plans. This is a sham wrapped inside of a travesty, inside of an enigma. We're finding each day a new stinking Easter egg. We found this one that, it turns out the President of the United States stands to personally benefit millions. We're going to find a series of more of them, such as the President promising that the heads of hedge funds would lose their carried interest deduction. We just found out they don't lose their carried interest deduction. It's a massive tax cut for high-income people and large corporations, and barely anything, and for millions of people, an increase in the taxes on the middle class.
So there's my boyfriend. Well, he's my crush. Comey is still my boyfriend, but you know, I would date Austin. You know, on the side, I would. So anyway, you know, Grover Norquist, if you're watching this, you can see he grabbed for his talking points. He's going to go through his list of GOP talking points, okay? And then Austin will pop them.
Well, it's an increase for the middle class and wealthy in many blue states, of course, which have high tax rates. A lot of people are going to be paying more across this country.
Poor Erin Burnett. She has the mung for like 2 weeks now. And her eyeball was all puffy.
Grover, you know, the issue is here also. What about this? What is it? Average family of four, $170 a month. That's how much they're going to save according.
Oh my God. The average family of four is going to save $170 a month. A family of four. But somebody making $1 million is going to save $51,000. Okay.
To the GOP, even GOP estimates. Is that going to transform the economy?
No.
Okay. Two things. One, I hate to break up the party about how lower and middle income people aren't going to get anything, but I'm looking at the Joint Tax Committee, which is the official bureaucratic group that does all these ratings. And if you look at who gets the biggest tax cuts, it's people earning between $20,000 and $50,000 a year, more as a percentage of their tax payments than the other groups. So this idea that somehow the rich guys are getting a bigger tax cut than other people, you're actually looking at a 6% cut for people who earn more than $1 million, 13, 11, 10 for people in the 20 to 50,000 range. They get a larger percentage tax cut of what they pay. So this argument that the Ds are trying to push, that lower and middle income people are not going to benefit, the problem they have is between now and the 2018 election, every 2 weeks people are going to see one in their paycheck and two in their 401ks. Their 401ks will tell them their assets are going up, and their stubs will tell them they got a pay increase because the government cut their taxes.
2/3 of Americans do not have a 401k.
Oh,
this
401k,
is the root of the problem.
IRA, own shares of
America
stock.
has no 401k, and this is geared toward very high-income people. We're going to raise it so that we get a big tax cut for estates over $20 million. We're going to preserve the tax breaks for private jets. Let's preserve them for hedge fund managers. Let's write into the law, this writes into the law, whatever benefits to the middle class, let's get rid of them by the end of the bill so that millions of people are actually paying more by the end of this bill. That's why 26% of America supports it. It's the least popular thing in decades.
Truly it is. 26% are for this. 26%. That's lower than, the crazy people that didn't want health care. I mean, this is, and it was one party, and it's going to be one party in the Senate. This is very unpopular. It doesn't even pretend to trickle down. There's not even a trickle here. There's just tricks. That's all that's in here. One hand gives you a pittance, a piddly little tax cut, and the other hand is busy grabbing at your Social Security, your Medicare, your subsidies for Obamacare, and the feet are kicking the money to the rich. I mean, it's a full body, a body slam. It's a heist is what it is. This is theft. Right in broad daylight. Oh, and it also includes oil drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. So the trickle will be oil. Crude oil on the caribou and the little birds. Yeah, so the middle class pays more in taxes. Unbelievable!
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randi more than ever. Go to RandiRhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all four the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
This is Mark Grimaldi in for Leslie Marshall. We're joined by Tim Carr of Free Press, and we're talking about the vote in the FCC to kill net neutrality. People have to get off the sidelines, get out of your comfort zone. It doesn't matter if you can't explain what net neutrality is in the most perfect terms. You have to try, because once people realize what it is, no one I know says, let's get rid of this. It's a horrible idea. I mean, I have not heard one single good argument for eliminating net neutrality.
So essentially,
essentially, it's really about control, and it's about who will control the future of communications. And with net neutrality, the rule keeps that control in the hands of Internet users, which is why it's such an important principle.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
House Speaker Paul Ryan, he's already setting his sights on the next GOP project, entitlement reform. During a radio interview, Ryan placed Medicare and welfare reform at the top of his list. Listen.
Frankly, it's the healthcare entitlements that are the big drivers of our debt. And then welfare reform, too. We think it's important to get people from welfare to work. We have a welfare system that's basically trapping people in poverty and effectively paying people not to work, and we've got to work on that.
Oh, my God, here it comes. So this bill has $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and $500 billion in well, this year alone, okay, Medicare gets cut by $25 billion. I mean, the senior citizens, the disabled folks in America, the people on Social Security, the people who, are... I mean, it blows your mind when you think of who's going to pay for corporations to, get a tax cut, or for the people at the bottom are going to pay for the people at the top to have their tax rates reduced from 39.6% down 2 percentage points to 37%. I mean, why is that in there? Didn't Donald Trump say, well, maybe we should add another tax bracket and make a 40% tax bracket for the very well? They went the exact, everything he says is the exact opposite. So they were thinking about adding a top tax bracket that was, force very wealthy people to pay a little bit more. And in the end, they lowered the top tax bracket to 37% from 39.6. It is just, this is mind-blowing. They're having a field day, and they left all the loopholes in there. The carried interest loophole means if you made capital gains this year, let's say you are invested in the stock market, whatever. Let's say you have a 401k and you cashed out, okay, and you got those capital gains. You have to pay tax on that, right? Yeah, well, carried interest is for very wealthy people to move that payment in taxes on their capital gain to the next year. So they never, and then the next year, and so they never pay. So we pay capital gains, but they don't pay capital gains. Also, this prioritizes making money off of money or inheriting money over work. This populist bullcrap that Donald Trump sold you, I hope you enjoyed the ride, because it's over. Plus, your health care costs are going to go up. Medicare benefits are going to go down. Medicaid is going to be just, extinguished. The state and local tax deduction, property taxes can't deduct it anymore. I mean, this is insanity. This is really crazy. 2/3 of the middle class are going to lose. And it partially repeals Obamacare in a way that's going to reduce, the premium support that goes to lower income families and raise the cost of insurance for the middle class. They don't want to talk about that. But that's, when you say $1 a day is what somebody like me is going to save, but my health insurance is going to go up $130 a month, I lose $100 right there. Never mind my property tax deduction, which I can't do anymore. It's just gone. This is insanity. This is craziness. And the territorial system, nobody is talking about how it incentivizes businesses to move offshore. The exact opposite result of what Trump said he wanted to do for the middle class, what he wanted to do for Joe Lunchbucket, what he wanted to do for West Virginia, what he wanted to do for Ohio. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate in the Rust Belt is going through the roof. You understand that? Everybody else is looking at, low unemployment, almost full employment. Oh, yeah, but not in Ohio, not in Wisconsin, not in Michigan, not in Indiana. Unemployment is up in Wisconsin. It's up in Michigan. It's up in Indiana. And it's up in Ohio since May. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate is at a 17-year low of 4.1%. Thank you, Obama. Because Trump did absolutely nothing until tomorrow when he signs this bill. That will be the first thing that he does. And, of course, this is a mean, stupid, heinous, horrible bill that benefits the donors. But you look at these states, joblessness is on the rise. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And remember, Trump would say, oh, she was a bad candidate. She didn't go to Wisconsin and Michigan. He did. And that's where unemployment is on the rise. It's unbelievable. So maybe, Paul Ryan will lose to Randy Bryce, who's running against him in Wisconsin. That would be nice. But this is why his favorability is dropped in states like Michigan and Indiana. There's 12 seats that we can grab in the Midwest. And I would, tell everybody who, just couldn't vote for Hillary, make sure that you vote for a Democrat in your state of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Indiana if you want to see an increase in jobs. Joanne in Oregon.
Hello.
Hi.
This is my first time ever calling in.
Oh, wow.
To a radio show.
Welcome.
I've been listening to you since Air America.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to let people know that I've worked for a large corporation for 30 years. And in that 30 years, all I've ever seen them do is just take stuff away from us. I mean,
yeah, I worked for a big corporation for years and years, and every Christmas you'd see a 20% reduction in personnel, no matter what, year in, year out, 20% reduction in people. Somebody who was doing the job of 5 people is now doing the job of 10 people.
Right, and my husband still works for this company, and he's working 60, 70 hours a week just for the mere fact that they won't hire more people.
Right, of course not. Of course not. What they do is, if they make profits, they reward the shareholders. They reward the CEOs. They reward Wall Street, because that is what their job is. This isn't a slam against big corporations. This is just what a CEO's fiduciary responsibility is. It's not to the employees. It's to the shareholders. Period. End of story. So the more profit that's generated by your husband's productivity, the more the shareholders enjoy increases in the share value. That's just the way it works.
Find out next year that they're taking away the pension benefit.
Of course.
So up to the years that he worked there, he still gets, but starting next year, no more.
Right.
It's like, and then our insurance went up $100. You'd think a big corporation would be able to deal better with the insurance companies, but we're paying $641 a month and a $3,000 deductible. So.
I know, and it's only going to get harder and more expensive, and they're just going to pass it on to you, because that is what the corporation, has to do. They owe an obligation to the shareholders, period, not to the employees, and that is why the employees are the first to get picked off or the first to be left out of the largesse. And it doesn't help our economy in this way. If you don't have money to spend during Christmas, if you don't have money to spend in Kohl's, if you don't have money to spend at the nail salon, if you don't have money to get your hair done, then all the small businesses that surround your house are going to do less well, and the economy doesn't improve. It's all about our economy is 70% driven by you. What can you buy? What can you afford? What can you purchase? And if you don't have the extra money at the end of the month to treat yourself to something, then those businesses go under.
Yeah, it's just,
so it has that. So that's the trickle. That's the trickle down. It's the misery index. That's what trickles down. It trickles down to your local dry cleaner. It trickles down to your local hair salon. It trickles down to the bar. It trickles down to the movie theater. It trickles down. If you want to grow something, you plant seeds and it grows up. They didn't plant seeds in the ground. They seeded the clouds, and now they're going to tell you it's raining. Dollars, and it's not. It's not going to rain dollars. So, Rick in Los Angeles.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
What a scam.
Oh, my God.
I don't know.
It's another great heist. I can't believe that I am living through another broad daylight heist.
Well, you know, whenever Republicans start talking about tax reform, you better watch your wallet, you know.
Absolutely.
That's kind of code for tax cuts for the rich, and we're going to screw the little people.
They didn't do tax reform, though. They didn't reform the tax code. They left all the loopholes for the big business. They left the carried interest, which is the biggest one. They left, they moved us from a worldwide system to a territorial system, which is a big tax break and incentive to offshore your business. I mean, they didn't reform the tax code. There were 7 brackets when they started. There's 7 brackets when they finished. They lowered the top rate 2 percentage points for the richest Americans. They increased the amount that you can, inherit now to over $20 million tax free.
Who needs that much money? And the thing
it's not that. I mean, it's not that. It's that it costs us $83 billion to benefit 1,800 families. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And all of this was done behind closed doors. There was no debate as to the policy implications of pursuing various.
There wasn't one single hearing. Not ridiculous. One. It was all done in the back room, in the conference committee. No Democrats were allowed. They asked, where were the Democrats? They weren't permitted to see the bill. The bill was voted on, and it wasn't read. Bob Corker's defense about, getting a huge tax break for his real estate pass-through companies is that he didn't read the bill. When your defense to the charge that you got a kickback is I couldn't have gotten a kickback. I didn't read the bill. I'm just going to vote for. That's sick. Remember the Tea Party? Read the bill. Read the bill. Remember the Tea Party with deficits matter? Remember that?
Well,
where'd they go?
Yeah, exactly. Deficits only matter when you have a Democratic president and a Republican Congress.
Yes, who have to clean up your mess.
Yeah, exactly. Cleaning up after the elephant. The Stones tried to go on tour one time with elephants, and it didn't work so well, so they kind of scotched that idea because obviously they pooped all over the place. And this is basically what they've done, to the American people. It's not trickle-down economics. It's piss-down economics, Randy, to be a little crude there. For your $1 a day, you're going to pay, you're basically going to get $1 a day cut in taxes, and you're going to pay $1,200 more a year. That's totally ridiculous.
It's a sin.
Yeah, and I called you and talked about this idea of a territorial tax system a long time ago, if you remember, and it was sort of not really on the radar.
Right, and now it's real.
This is a sea change in taxation of corporations, and it's done without even the least bit of debate as to what we should do, what we shouldn't do, whether this is going to cause companies to move offshore. And my understanding is there's a break if companies bring their cash onshore. If they repatriate it, they pay only 7 or 14%. But why pay anything if you don't have to?
Right? Why pay anything? What CEO is sitting there going, we could bring back our offshore profits and pay 10%, 20%, but whatever it is. Or we can leave it there and now we have a legal tax shelter and pay zero. What would you choose for your company, to pay or not to pay?
Yeah, I mean it's just it's so stupid, and they're going to shift all of as much of their income, as much of their sales offshore to the lowest.
Let me tell you something. It's absolutely true. And they say, the Republicans didn't do a good job of selling this, but the people will like it when they see. Let me tell you something. The fact that there aren't people out with pitchforks in the street means they did a good job of selling it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because this is pitchfork territory. I mean, they are literally stealing from you in broad daylight. This is theft. This is the biggest theft I've seen, including the Bush tax cut. And at least the Bush tax cuts, what they give you, $2 a day? You remember your little tax check you got? You got your $600. That was $2 a day. This is less than that. This was not tax reform. This is a heist. Everybody know that. They are stealing from 2/3 of America right this very second in broad daylight. Tonight, the Senate will complete the crime. It's a caper. This is bigger than the Lufthansa heist, okay? Jimmy! I did my caper. I want my cut. Maury! No, really. This is unbelievable. You are being stolen from.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
We've found thousands of farm workers out in the fields of Ventura County without the protective masks that they need.
Officials warn of toxic smoke from Southern California wildfires.
The Arctic as a whole is warming at least twice as fast as the rest of the planet.
New bad news for the melting Arctic. At Global Summit, the world fights climate change without the U.S. Plus,
please come to France.
French president makes good on promise to fund U.S. climate scientists.
All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Coal. The science is in, and it's coal.
And that's all it is. And this is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, it is damn near Christmas, and we are still fighting wildfires out here in Southern California.
Winter wildfires, which is really weird. But yes, the wildfires still rage in Southern California, and now state officials are warning of hazardous air quality in some areas, telling residents to stay inside to avoid exposure to toxic smoke and carcinogenic ash from incinerated homes. But labor activists warn that thousands of farm workers are still working outside in the dangerous smoke and have not received protective equipment from their employers. That's according to Lucas Zucker of the Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy in an interview with Democracy Now!
We've found thousands of farm workers out in the fields of Ventura County without the protective masks that they need. You know, workers are really faced with this horrific choice of either giving up the income they desperately need in a time like this or be out in conditions that are endangering their health and safety.
And for people who don't know the area out here in Southern California, there are farms, orchards, a vast agricultural area. They call this part of Southern California the salad bowl because it produces so much of the food for the rest of the country. And I can only imagine what it's like out there working in those fields right next to these fires, which are hundreds of miles wide.
Disturbing news for the Arctic. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reports that this year clocked in as the second warmest year on record for the Arctic, with the smallest extent of sea ice ever on record. NOAA Arctic Director Jeremy Mathis warned that the rate and magnitude of sea ice loss since 2000 is unprecedented in at least 1,500 years. Studies have increasingly linked the melting Arctic to changing weather patterns and extreme weather events in the Northern Hemisphere. At the One Planet Summit in Paris this week,
Mais on est en train de perdre la bataille.
We're in the process of losing the battle.
French President Emmanuel Macron called on European leaders and corporations to pick up the pace of action in cutting emissions that cause dangerous global warming. Macron also made good on an earlier promise, announcing multi-million-dollar grants to 13 U.S. climate scientists to conduct their research in France. After U.S. President Donald Trump, who was not invited to the conference, vowed he would withdraw the U.S. from the historic UN Paris Climate Agreement in 2020.
So we're not funding these scientists anymore. France has to step in and fund U.S. climate science.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
But American political and business leaders were also there in Paris to organize and to help developing countries prepare for climate impacts. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger offered some blunt reassurance.
It doesn't matter that Donald Trump backed out of the Paris Agreement, because the private sector didn't drop out, the public sector didn't drop out, universities didn't drop out, scientists didn't drop out, engineers didn't drop out, no one dropped out. Donald Trump pulled Donald Trump out of the Paris Agreement.
Among several major announcements at the summit, the World Bank and global insurer AXA said they will end all financing for oil and gas exploration starting in 2019. Major investors launched a campaign to pressure the world's top 100 greenhouse gas emitting corporations to reduce their emissions. And China's environment minister announced China is on the cusp of launching its nationwide carbon emissions trading market, which would be the largest in the world. Finally, the U.S. private sector is stepping up its investment in clean energy technology at home. Tesla Motors' new all-electric semi-truck was unveiled just last month, but it's already pulling in hundreds of pre-orders from major corporations. The latest from beverage giant Pepsi, which this week ordered 100 Tesla all-electric semis, citing its lower overall cost compared to conventional internal combustion semis.
Give it up, Desi Doyen. Elon Musk is not going to give you a free Model 3.
Oh, come on.
For much more on all of those stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Don't forget, you can download our reports anytime via Stitcher, TuneIn, or iTunes. Find us and follow us worldwide on the Facebooks and the Twitters, even in France, at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
On this vote, the ayes are 51. The nays are 48. The Senate recedes from its amendment and concurs in H.R. 1. With further amendment, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is passed.
We believe that this product will do two extremely important things for the country. Number one, provide middle-class tax relief. And number two, provide business changes that make us more competitive.
On this vote, the yeas are 227 and the nays are 203. The conference report is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
On February 1st, look at your paychecks, because you'll see the tax relief we delivered today. And on April 15th, you will, for the last time, file your taxes under this horrible, terrible tax code that we're putting behind us for the American people.
This is profound change, and this is change that is going to put our country on the right path.
As you've heard all of my colleagues say, the facts are not irrelevant. And so we're just beginning to make the argument to the American people.
If people are out there on TV telling mistruths, disguising the facts of this thing, that's going to make it unpopular. Results are going to make this popular.
What is happening on the floor of the House is an immorality, is a betrayal of the role that we have to meet the needs of the American people, will indebt future generations.
They will rue the day they did it.
Okay, so it's happened. It has happened, everybody. Congratulations. Don't you feel wealthy? In February, you're going to see your dollar, your $15, your dollar, whatever. Yeah, AT&T's already seen, the benefits of this tax bill. Listen, first of all, let's go through who wrote this tax bill, shall we? Let's just look at, what has happened here. And then I'm going to show you a real world example of what happens when companies hire lobbyists to lobby on the tax code. The greatest vehicle for wealth redistribution in the history of the world is our tax code, which, by the way, has not been simplified. Just want to say the loopholes for business, the loopholes for the wealthy, all still lovingly preserved in this tax code. Nothing has been taken out that, would affect wealthy tax preparer, the preparer for a wealthy person or for a corporate. Nothing has changed. 7 brackets going in, 7 brackets coming out. Nothing has. They did not do tax reform. They did monumental tax cuts for corporations, and America knows it. They took the 35%, statutory rate, which is an effective tax rate anywhere between 0 and like 16% for companies now, and they gave them all kinds of, benefits by lowering the statutory rate, repealing the corporate alternative minimum tax, meaning that if you came up with 0, you kind of had to pay something. Well, they don't have to pay anything anymore. So that's gone. I mean, this is just ridiculous, but I want to show you what really goes on Capitol Hill. Okay, watch this.
The President of the United States said he liked the idea of the Patriot Corporation Act, liked the idea of the Working Families Relief Act, but then he turned it over to Senator McConnell. You know what happened down this hall? You know what happened? For people that don't work here and live here and see this, I just would point out, Mr. President, down the hall 100 feet is Senator McConnell's office.
Okay.
Wall Street lobbyist after Wall Street lobbyist walked in that door and out that door. Tobacco lobbyist after tobacco lobbyist walked in that door and out that door. Oil company lobbyist after oil company lobbyist walked in that door and out that door.
Really?
As I said, they didn't carry bags of money themselves. That would be uncouth. But they sure wrote provisions in this tax bill that provide bags of money for their companies, for the tobacco companies, for Wall Street, for the oil companies, for the drug companies, over and over and over, Mr. President. They made it clear they're benefiting one class of people, the wealthiest Americans, corporate CEOs, board members, and stockholders who see their profits rise and grow their businesses when they ship jobs overseas.
So that's Sherrod Brown, okay, trying to explain to you what goes on right behind the doors where they stand in the well and they give these fabulous speeches. Right behind them, the lobbyists can peer through the little glass door. They have just met with Mitch McConnell. They have gone to the Senate office buildings. They have had fundraisers at Charlie Palmer's for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. They have had, amazing fundraisers. They have padded the pockets of the Republicans who don't give a rat's ass about the deficit, except when they do, who don't give a rat's ass about the middle class. They never do. And whose entire reason for living is to win re-election and maintain power. I mean, that's the little game that gets played. So that was Sherrod Brown. And now he's going to talk about what the next steps are for the Republicans.
This bill, we know, explodes the deficit. We know what the plan is to deal with the deficit. You know what they do?
Yes.
They steal the money Americans have paid into Social Security and Medicare. How do we know that? I'm not just saying, as a progressive Democrat in this body, I'm not just saying, well, of course they're going to cut Social Security and Medicare. I think that, but you know why I'm sure of it? I always was pretty sure of it because that's what they do. But I'm sure of it because they said that. They made their plans crystal clear. Speaker Ryan says he wants to turn next year to what he calls entitlement reform.
Exactly.
Now, retirement reform are retirement and health benefits people earn over a lifetime of work. You know what social insurance? Social insurance, you pay into Medicare over the course of your life. When you need Medicare, when you're 65, you get this insurance. You pay into Social Security their entire life. You either get survivor's benefits for your children, or you get disability, or you get retirement when you reach the age of 66, more or less. You pay into unemployment insurance, and if you need it, God willing, you don't. But if you need it, you get help. That's what social insurance is. You pay for it, and you get help from society. It's society-wide social insurance. That's why it's called that. But Ways and Means Chairman Kevin Brady said the next stop for Republicans is to tackle entitlement. So here's what we know. This bill is going to cause huge deficits. We know that. They've acknowledged that. 2, 3, 4 years from now, Republican members will come to us. They'll, after the lobbyists have been down the hall with Senator McConnell's office, they'll come back and they'll say to us, we got this huge budget deficit. We're going to have to raise this eligibility age for Social Security maybe to 70. Some of them have talked about that. We're going to have to privatize Medicare because they say we got to make these programs stronger and sustainable.
Stronger.
Nobody thinks they want to make them stronger. They want to cut them. That's how you save money, right? Even though you don't in the end.
Poor Sherrod Brown. I mean, this is how everybody who has a brain feels today. Sherrod Brown opening the door that separates the lobbyists from the Senate well to show you where Mitch McConnell's office is, to show you where the lobbyists are, and to quote Paul Ryan that the next big project is entitlement reform. These are social insurance programs. These are earned benefits, as I like to call them. Okay, people get really weirded out when you say social, when you say insurance. So let's call it what it is. These are earned benefits. You pay in over a lifetime, expecting that those benefits will be there for you or for your survivors should you pass away. You expect that when you become a senior citizen, you're going to get Medicare because you've paid in your entire life. You expect that you paid into the unemployment system, and so did your employer, so that if you become unemployed through no fault of your own, you're fired, you can get unemployment insurance so that you can live another day to look for a job and still eat lunch. Okay, maybe you're skipping breakfast and dinner, but you can still grab something in your belly before you go to the interview so that they don't hear your stomach growling above your pitch. Okay, so that's what's that all that's there for. You think that, you know, Medicaid, you pay in your whole life. Oh, Medicaid's only for the poor? No, it's for your mother's nursing home. So what do? They're going to cut. They already cut Medicaid in this bill. $1 trillion cut to Medicaid. Okay, and they put $500 a year in it for you so that your mother, your grandmother, can be kicked out of the nursing home and go live with you, and you'll get $500 a year to take care of your mother or your grandma. $500 a month isn't enough to cover their prescription costs. $500 a month isn't enough to cover their nursing care costs. $500 a month isn't enough for insulin. This is their plan. This is what they're doing. It is just the sickest, most twisted thing. I haven't even gotten to the most horrible thing I saw today, okay? Wait, the most horrible thing I saw today. I'll try and get it into this hour because it was so horrible and people need to see it. But this is just bat crap crazy, okay? It's nuts. Here's Nancy Pelosi calling it exactly what we called it yesterday. Yesterday we said it was a heist. This heist was, it's bigger than the Lufthansa heist, okay? This is huge. This is bigger than the Bush tax cuts. This is where you got $600 to shut up and go away. $2 a day you got. This one will give you $1 a day. $930 a year for most people. The middle fifth of America, $900 a year. 6 million people are going to actually see their taxes go up in the middle class because they live in states where they're no longer able to deduct their property taxes, which are super high. Why? Because their high-tax states invest in them. Their high-tax states like having world-class schools, like having the Medicaid expansion, like having, roads and bridges that are in, functioning form. And so they charge more to live there because you get more when you live there, and that's why people live there. But they're going to see their taxes go up.
This GOP tax scam is simply theft. Monumental, brazen theft from the American middle class and from every person who aspires to reach it. The GOP tax scam is not a vote for an investment in growth or jobs. It is a vote to install a permanent plutocracy in our nation.
Hello.
They'll be cheering that later. It does violence to the vision of our founders. It disrespects the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform, who are a large part of our middle class and to whom we owe a future worthy of their sacrifice. And it betrays the future and betrays the aspirations of our children. It morally demands a no vote from every member of this House.
Yeah, good luck with that. It did not work. But I want to play you something this is frightening. Okay, she said, let's just explain what she meant. It defies the vision of our founders. What is she talking about? How could a tax bill violate the vision of our founders? Our founders were on the wall against an aristocracy. They were on the wall always standing guard against the rich, controlling a king, inheritance, ne'er-do-well, lucky sperm club winners ruling our country. They wanted the people to govern themselves. They wanted the people to choose representation based on their wants, hopes, dreams, and desires, not the aristocracy to choose policies for them. And so that's what she means by it defies with the estate tax, $22 million now. You can inherit as a living, live human being. You can inherit. You can be worth $22 million the day after your parents die or your father dies or your great uncle dies and leaves it to you. You can be, receiving $22 million and have done zero work for it and get that money tax-free. But if I make $1, if I make $1, then I have to pay taxes on my $1. I mean, this is crazy. But here is the most vile thing I saw all day today, because she mentions plutocracy. This is the natural jumping off point for the most horrible, horrible thing I saw today. All right, first I'm going to play you Chuck Schumer today. Went out in front of a microphone to explain to you how corporations do not have an effective tax rate of 35%, and they never did. That they fire employees, they trim their workforce so that they can do share buybacks and reward their shareholders by cutting labor costs. And sometimes, like in the case of this particular company that he's going to mention, oh, this is creepy. Wait till you see. He mentions AT&T here, okay? Paying an 8% effective tax rate, okay? Watch this.
Corporations are flush with cash right now. The stock market's booming. Job creation isn't. Look at all the companies that have already said they're going to use their tax break for stock buybacks, for dividends that don't affect average Americans. And I love the example of AT&T. Over the last 10 years, AT&T has paid an average tax rate of 8% a year. They have 80,000 fewer employees today than they had then. Tax breaks don't lead to job creation. They lead to big CEO salaries and money for the very, very wealthy.
Now the most horrible evidence of what this tax cut does, you can watch. Okay, because Chuck Schumer picked AT&T. Apparently, I'm not the only one that watches C-SPAN. Apparently, I'm not the only one that watches CNN. Apparently, the CEO of AT&T, oh yeah, the CEO of AT&T, Randall Stephenson, also saw this. And within seconds, Randall Stephenson, who had said, you know, I mean, he is a devout Republican contributor. He hires lobbyists, and he is now the subject of an antitrust action by President Trump's Department of Justice because AT&T wants to buy CNN. They want to merge with Time Warner. And there's a big antitrust case pending at the Department of Justice preventing this merger, okay, from going through. Randall Stephenson saw Chuck Schumer invoke AT&T and immediately decided to make a phone call and tell the president that because this tax bill went through, and included in this tax bill is something called expensing of investments. And because Randall Stephenson knows that if he spends $1 billion, it will cost him nothing because it's a complete and total write-off. This is what I mean about loopholes that were built into this tax code, in addition to the ones he already had. Because of expensing of investments, he can now say out loud that he will give $1,000, woohoo, $1,000 to 200,000 employees. It will cost AT&T absolutely nothing to do it because it will be expensed this year. And so it will make the Democrats look stupid and bad because Chuck Schumer just mentioned AT&T. And within seconds, the president comes out and says...
And I noticed this just came out 2 minutes ago. They handed it to me.
Oh, my God.
AT&T plans to increase U.S. capital spending $1 billion and provide $1,000 special bonus to more than 200,000 U.S. employees, and that's because of what we did. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you are now watching is a transactional government that is not ruled by the people. It is ruled by the corporations. Plutocracy, oligarchy, whatever you want to call it. AT&T will spend $1,000 for it's like $2 million, which costs it nothing now because they will expense it thanks to this new tax bill. But they can make Chuck Schumer and the Democrats look stupid and weak by giving $1,000 to their employees. I mean, the CEO of AT&T did everything except give President Trump a hand job right there in public and say, can I buy CNN now? You get what happened here? They call the shots, not you.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Hey everybody, it's Brett from the Randi Rhodes Show, and all I want for Christmas is an impeachment. But the next best thing is working at the Randi Rhodes Show, and that can't happen without your support. Let's help Randi make this a hard truth holiday season, as she can't do that without your support. So please keep listening and buy a stinking podcast.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. It's life or death for the Federal Communications Commission, and death may be the honest option. After all, the FCC's mission to regulate communications media in the public interest was forged long ago in a time very different from our own, and it's been beaten to a pulp by politicians of both parties over the last 2 decades. Now Donald Trump's FCC chair Ajit Pai wants to kill the wounded agency off, and he may have done it to all intents and purposes at the Commission's meeting this December 14th. The history of the agency goes back to a time when new technology was bursting with potential and open to use or abuse with devastating implications for democracy. Its mission was forged by movements long back who understood that the nation teetered on a brink. Would we be the land of misogyny, white supremacy, militarism, anti-Semitism, and anti-immigrant bias, or something better? At the time, world capitalism was accumulating unchecked. The social justice movements of the 1920s and 30s disagreed about a lot, but they understood from experience that no one of them stood a chance of shifting power or displacing arrogance without a functioning public information system. The future of the nation would only go one way, they said, if only those who could pay could have a say. In the 1940s, under FDR, the chairman of the FCC was a civil rights advocate, one of Rosa Parks' lawyers. Clifford Durr pursued media justice with a social justice passion because he and the movements at his back believed that diversity, localism, and competition was civil rights means to a civil, fair society. All these years on, decades of paid propaganda have many Americans convinced that government has no business meddling in the business of media. Social movements mostly don't get too involved in media regulation either because, well, they believe that, like the AFL-CIO or the NAACP, they can afford to buy big-dollar ads on the big boss's media and cross their fingers that the workers' message gets across unchanged.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Oh, great minds think alike. Check this out. This is CNBC.
Okay, because here's the thing. There's 2 things here. Number one, $1,000 as a bonus, 200,000 people. That's good. For those 200,000 people, that matters. It's more bill payments, gifts under the tree, savings, whatever they want to do with it. Good on AT&T. That's good news. One wonders, the skeptic in me does wonder.
Yeah.
This is a company that is engaged in the biggest fight with the Trump administration in the United States. Mm-hmm. And now they're saying, hey, thanks to the president. Do you think Trump reacts to this?
Probably reacts to everything. I don't doubt there's politics in this, but also don't forget there's an important provision in the tax bill. I think you hinted at it about drawing investment forward. You can do full expensing, 100% of capital expenditures for the next 5 years. That is up from 50%. That is an incentive to any kind of...
To do it now.
To do it now. It's
right.
huge.
In fact, for some industries, the expensing will be a bigger impact than the tax rate change.
Yes, absolutely. Because the tax rate change, they're still paying a whole lot less than 35%. They're paying a whole lot less than 21%. They're paying 8%. Some of them are getting checks back, okay? The alternative minimum tax is gone. They don't have to pay jack crap anymore. Corporations are going to get a free ride here in the United States. And in fact, on foreign profits, because we've gone to a territorial system, they are going to be incentivized to move overseas because if they make foreign profits, they're not taxable in the United States as they were yesterday. Now they're not taxable here at all. So this was a complete and utter, I mean, they licked the butts of the oligarchs. They licked the butts of, and don't forget, this is unbelievable. Here's another one. This is a Wall Street blog, okay, that they said it was hard to miss the chaotic news miasma of 2017, but AT&T has spent the entire year trying to close its merger deal with Time Warner. The whole thing has been plagued by regulatory roadblocks thrown up by government that openly detests regulation but hates Time Warner because they own CNN, and their loathing is all-consuming. We're sure that has nothing to do with it, though, right, Justice Department? But with both parties set to sue the DOJ for blocking the merger because Donald Trump is in a Twitter beef with Don Lemon, AT&T has shifted gears and decided to play along with the emotional needs of a government run by an egomaniacal adolescent. Upon noticing that Trump's massive corporate tax cut will now become law, AT&T CEO Randall Stephenson has rubbed some Jergens into his warm palms, dropped to his knees, closed his eyes, and dictated this statement. Quote, Congress, working closely with the president, took a monumental step to bring taxes paid by U.S. businesses in line with the rest of the industrialized world, CEO Randall Stephenson said in a statement. This tax reform will drive economic growth and create good-paying jobs. In fact, we will increase our U.S. investment and pay a special bonus of $1,000 to our U.S. employees. The point of this entire phallatic exercise is comically clear. We do have to give Stephenson points for straight out not asking, can we buy CNN now? And he gets double points for resisting the urge to just go full throttle and tell shareholders that he feels safe every day, quote, knowing that our strong and smart president is protectively caressing but never grabbing our nation with his infamously huge hands. This is Wall Street writing this. Oh, and speaking of, massage to the various body parts, did anybody see this bizarro world thing in the cabinet meeting today? Oh, praise Oh my God, this was the cabinet meeting this morning. Now, I cut it up because the media will show you the portion where Trump is going to tell you that while the media, was kept in the dark, so were the Democrats, about the drilling and ANWR provision that's also in this tax cut, which I told you about yesterday. And also the killing of Obamacare by, ending the mandates, repealing the mandates, which the Republicans today are famously saying makes Obamacare unworkable. And this explains why my premiums went up. They doubled. My healthcare premium went from $713 to $1,300 per month this year, because in October, Trump stopped paying the CSR payments to the insurance companies, which help them afford me a subsidy on the price, and then I get a subsidy because I don't make a whole lot of money, right? So their end was killed, right? Their subsidy was killed. I still got mine, but their subsidy was killed. So that happened in October. Those payments haven't been restored. And so when they were selling their policies for 2018, they doubled the cost of the policy. But I have to have health insurance. And so you just have to bite the bullet and do it, right? Okay. So anyway, today they had this cabinet meeting where Trump proclaimed that Obamacare was covertly killed in this tax bill. And yes, we're going to, open ANWR to oil drilling, and won't this be great? And then after he made these two announcements, this is what happened.
Ben, we'll ask you to say grace. Thank you.
Say grace.
Our kind Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the opportunities and the freedom that you've granted us in this country. We thank you for the president and for cabinet members who are courageous, who are willing to face the winds of controversy in order to provide a better future for those who come behind us. We're thankful for the unity in Congress that has presented an opportunity for our economy to expand so that we can fight the corrosive debt that has been destroying our future.
Whoa! Ben Carson saying a prayer in a cabinet meeting, praising God for getting us out from under our debt while they just signed a bill that adds $1.5 trillion to our debt. This is like Neverland. This is really, really down is up and up is down and black is white, and we're through the looking glass, people. This is craziness. Why are we praying in the first place at a cabinet meeting, number one? Number two, why are we praying and thanking God? I thought it was render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God. I thought God doesn't pick winners and losers in the economy. I thought that was Caesar that did. Oh my God, this was so insane.
And we hope that unity will spread even beyond party lines.
Oh my God.
So that people recognize that we have a nation that is worth saving, and recognize that nations divided against themselves cannot stand.
Excuse me, but our economy is, booming. Wall Street is booming. We have 4.1% unemployment, which is full employment. Why? Why are they saying these things? And why is he saying it to God?
In this time of discord, distrust, and dishonesty,
oh my God,
we ask that you would give us a spirit of gratitude, compassion, and common sense, and give us the wisdom to be able to guide this great nation. In the future, we ask in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
What the F is going on? And then, after this prayer, Trump went around the table like that twisted cabinet meeting he had back, I guess it was in June or July, where he had every cabinet member praise him as if he were the king. He did it again. And this was like really creepy because you can only see Mike Pence's little head here. It looked just like a Curb Your Enthusiasm. It looked like one of those, like Seinfeld. Like, when Larry David played George Steinbrenner and you only saw the back of his head.
Mike, would like to say a few words?
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. President. As I told you last night, shortly after the Senate vote.
Those aren't pillows.
I know I speak on behalf of the entire cabinet and
look at the
millions of Americans when I say congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for seeing through the course of this year an agenda that truly is restoring this country. You described it very well, Mr. President. From the outset of this administration, we've been rebuilding our military, putting the safety and security of the American people first.
What?
You've restored American credibility on the world stage.
What?
We're standing with our allies. We're standing up to our enemies. But
we have pissed off every ally we have. Last night, I think our allies said something like, we feel threatened. We feel like seriously threatened by this president. This president is scaring the bejesus out of us allies as he cozies up to Russia, who is behind, all the troubles that everybody has in Iran and in Syria and, in North Korea. I mean, Russia supports these regimes. This is crazy. This is madness. This is mass madness. Everything is opposite of what it is. Pence is sitting there and he's like sucking up to this thank you, and everything is ass backwards. This is unbelievable. This is crazy. This is absolute bizarro world. I've never seen anything like this in my entire freaking life. I have never experienced a government of such propaganda. I have never seen such a demagogue. I have never seen somebody who is so junior high school adolescent that he needs praise because he's having a breakout. I mean, I never saw anything like this. Meanwhile, you have the senators making out like bandits. Literally, Bob Corker made out like a bandit. It never seems so literal as it does now. these people, we won't add a penny to the deficit. You added 1 trillion pennies to the deficit, trillions and trillions of pennies to the deficit. I don't want to say the middle class gets nothing but scraps, but you might as well just get used to eating off the kitchen floor, everybody. And it's not even scraps. It's a bone. Because, see, scraps you could eat, digest, and, But a bone, because they're going to want it back. They gave you a bone to chew on temporarily because they're going to want it all back in the form of Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, education, infrastructure, you name it. They're going to cut it. This is sick. This is crazy. This is lunacy.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hi, this is Scotty, Randy's producer, here to remind you it's December, a month that's known for its holidays. You got your Christmas, your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, your Boxing Day, Festivus. No matter what holiday you celebrate, it's a time we all come together with our families and friends. And since you're all my family and friends, I like to wish each and every one of you a happy/merry holidays of your choice. Now, if you're still looking for the perfect gift, I, Scotty, got you covered. Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy your friends or family a stinking podcast. Think about it. What better way to show your loved ones that you really care than sharing with them the knowledge of truth and facts? And if you can't stand the people in your life, but you still want to do something great for the holidays, here's an idea for you. Support the show. By supporting the Randi Rhodes Show, you help keep us going into the new year. And if 2017 was a sign of things to come, we'll need Randi more than ever. Go to RandiRhodes.com to buy a stinking podcast and or support the show.
Happy holidays, jerky fans. Herky Jerky knows it's the season to enjoy the world's best jerky and meat sticks, and they want you to save a bundle while doing it. Herky Jerky, first of all, would like to thank you all you fiercely loyal customers, because they had their most successful year thanks to you despite Mother Nature doing its worst. Jason at Herky Jerky is so grateful that you enjoy his products, and everyone at Herky Jerky is so glad to provide them. So, as a special thank you, Herky Jerky is serving up their best offer of the year for Christmas giving. $10 off any order of $60 or more, or $15 off any order $100 or more without a promo code. Just visit herkyjerky.com. And the now famous bacon jerky, new fat-free and delicious turkey jerky, and all 4 the new nitrite and preservative-free flavors, plus good old beef jerky, and all the exotic game jerkies make perfect holiday gifts. Buffalo, elk, venison sticks, 3 different varieties of beef smokies, all make great stocking stuffers. So choose your favorites now. Take advantage of the savings, which also includes free shipping on any 2 packs or more. Everyone at Herky Jerky would like to wish a safe and happy holiday season to all of you, and thank you once again for your loyalty. This offer starts today and it goes through all of December. Happy holidays from herkyjerky.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
This is Mark Grimaldi in for Leslie Marshall. We're joined by Tim Carr of Free Press, and we're talking about the vote in the FCC to kill net neutrality. People have to get off the sidelines, get out of your comfort zone. It doesn't matter if you can't explain what net neutrality is in the most perfect terms. You have to try, because once people realize what it is, no one I know says, let's get rid of this. It's a horrible idea. I mean, I have not heard one single good argument for eliminating net neutrality.
So essentially, it's really about control, and it's about who will control the future of communications. And with net neutrality, the rule keeps that control in the hands of Internet users, which is why it's such an important principle.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Well, I think we did everything that we could. But at the end of the day, what you had is people like Mr. Mnuchin, who himself is worth $300 or $400 million. The President of the United States, who is worth several $billion, as you mentioned, some 4,000 or 5,000 lobbyists doing everything that they could to write a bill which significantly benefits the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. The latest analysis that we have seen suggests that 72% of the benefits go to the top 5% My guess is that 60% of the benefits will go to the top 1%. And at the end of the decade, because the benefits for the middle class are temporary, while the corporate benefits are permanent, at the end of the decade, over half of the middle class will be paying more in taxes. What we are seeing here is a real massive attack on the middle class. And what I worry very much, John, is that if you listen to what the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, is talking about, what he is saying is that as a result of this bill, the deficit will go up by $1.4 trillion. And what Ryan, in my view, will come back with are massive cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid in order to offset that deficit.
Seriously. This is the only, I mean, they're blowing up the deficit on purpose so that they can then say, look at the deficit, we got to do something. And they're going to take it right out of your life, right out of your pocket, right out of your savings, right out of everything that you've paid into your entire life. This is unbelievable. The first thing you have to do, obviously, they say, oh, you'll see it in your paycheck in February. The first thing you need to do in February is walk into your boss's office and say, where's my $4,000? Okay? That's the very first thing. I would prefer to have it in one lump sum, sir. I understand if you want to dole it out over the course of the year, but be careful. Be careful. I want my $4,000 because it's going to take the place of my Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Oh, my God. Holy crap. This is unbelievable. And, you know, it is so unpopular. See, when they passed Obamacare, the Obamacare was, 9 points down, okay? People disapproved of it about 9 points more than they approved of it. This is 26 points down, meaning nobody wants this. Only 26% of America is for this. Nobody wants this. Absolutely nobody, except for the CEO of AT&T, who, by the way, is a Republican donor, tried and true, 20 years he's been given. And he's got this giant antitrust case in front of the Department of Justice because the Department of Justice has challenged the merger with Time Warner. Trump hates CNN. And so, you know, you had this whole thing going on. And so they had to grease him. They literally had to lube up and grease Donald Trump. So the second that Chuck Schumer said, look, here's a great example. AT&T fired 80,000 employees. They only pay an effective tax rate of 8%. Okay. And so this is a great example of who got the most help. And they didn't hire anybody. And this is what you're going to see more of. Randall Stevenson saw that the same second I saw that and passes a note through the White House to the president, who's standing in the Rose Garden celebrating this freaking horrible transfer of wealth from the middle class to the richest, wealthiest, best connected, lobbyist affording people in this country, of whom Randall Stevenson is one. He gave to Paul Ryan. This is Paul. He's a donor to Paul Ryan. He's a donor to Senator John McCain. In June of this year, he donated to Donald Trump for his, I guess his re-election campaign, which he started in June. And he spent $34,000 with the Republican National Committee. And listen, just so you know, as of the third quarter before this passed, AT&T had already spent about $16.5 billion in capital expenditures. But now they say, all right, we'll spend another $2 million giving bonuses to our employees because, hey, it doesn't cost us anything. We expense it, and it's free money. And guess who's going to pay for the $1,000 that goes to the AT&T employee? The AT&T employee. Great call. We got an employee on the line. Oh, we do? Dan in Palm Coast, you work for AT&T. Hello. Oh, Dan.
You work for, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I didn't press the button. Go ahead.
Okay. Yep, I do work for AT&T. We just received an email around 2 o'clock today in regards to the tax reform provides more investment special bonus. Primarily what Randall is saying is that if everything is signed before Christmas, they're guaranteeing us a $1,000 bonus.
Right.
But I am on your side on this. I would rather them keep this bonus and not involve any of the extra taxes or them to get their extra tax cuts. I did email you what we received. I sent you a screenshot of it.
Okay.
From Randall. so you could actually see what
Randall,
what it is, and
Randall is sitting around while you're out in the field, listening to some customer complain about slow speeds. I don't know. Randall Randall is sitting there watching CNN and C-SPAN along with me, and he's sending messages to the White House saying, "Hey, expensing. I could give Dan $1,000. Dan will pay for it on the back end, but I could get because it costs us nothing now to expense it out over 5 years."
And with that included, even though they're giving us a $1,000 bonus, our benefits have increased approximately right now as of next year will have gone up about 13 to 15% for us, what we're paying. Granted,
so on your side of the healthcare equation, you're paying 13 to 15% more. Okay,
exactly.
So that's
even
what I'm saying. It's a wash. It's a wash, right? It's an absolute wash. But you know who's making money off of this is AT&T because they can expense it and write down their tax obligation. So, yeah.
And of course, they sold it to us as, well, you're getting a raise earlier this year. They said, well, guess what? We're giving you a raise, but you're going to pay more for your benefits. When it comes out, it actually is, we're making less now because of that increase in benefits.
Of course. That's the thing with me. Okay, so this is what I was trying to say, yesterday. I think I said it very clearly, but if I get $100 decrease in my taxes every single month, my health care costs have gone up $700. So I'm $600 in the hole.
And I've been watching that with the company for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's been happening.
Well, the only reason why you got a 10% raise earlier this year is because the Communication Workers of America, the union, one of the last unions, they went on strike.
I remember.
They went on strike for outsourcing and low wages, and they got a 10% raise, but they decided to balance their books by increasing the cost for your health insurance to you. So you ended up losing money in this deal.
And I've been around long enough to where I was around when Ed Whitaker was here. Mr. My Line, Ed Whitaker. I've been around since about 2000 with the company, and I've seen year over year a loss between benefits. Yes, granted, we are making more money on our 401k, but we also get a profit and loss, or a profit bonus, a profit sharing bonus.
Yeah, but here's another thing on that 401k. You're going to pay regular capital gains, and if you were a hedge fund manager, you wouldn't. So.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was the first year with our profit sharing that we received about. Normally, we're getting within a couple thousand, $1,500, $1,800. This year, we received $271. So every year we're
don't spend it all in one place. You can't even afford to buy an iPhone with that. I mean,
no, that actually went for my cell phone bill, which I paid to the company. So more or less, my profit sharing went back into profit sharing.
Of course.
It's a reinvestment.
It's such a game. They're playing such a game, all to make Donald Trump forget about this Department of Justice antitrust action. I mean, Randall, your boss, did everything today but blow him in public and say, "Can I buy CNN now?"
And I know, and it's embarrassing.
It's
being
horrific. It happened it happened in real time. You could actually see that the country had moved in real time, like in seconds today, from a government of the people, by the people, to a transactional corporate government. You could see it. He literally bought the Department of Justice off. Really. They talk about politicizing the DOJ. My God, you could see it in real time. He literally bought them off so he could buy CNN. It was stunning to me. And, I know media because I've been involved in all of these mergers and acquisitions over the years where you go to sleep one night and you're working for Fairbanks Communications. You wake up the next morning, you're working for Clear Channel, and 80% of the employees are fired, and you're now doing the job of 5 people instead of your job, and the benefits now cost you money, and there's no vacation pay, and you work for a guy who walks through the hallways and says, if I don't like you, you go on the seaboard. You know what I mean? So I've seen it. I've seen it over and over and over again. And employees never make out because that is not what Randall Stevenson's job is. His job, with due deference to what he does, is he's supposed to enrich the shareholders, period.
And
he's not good at it from what you're telling me because you only got $271 in profit sharing.
And that was before taxes.
Gets worse. Well, listen, thank you for sharing your story, Dan. I appreciate it because
Thank you, Randy.
People are out there going, well, if I worked for AT&T, I'd be happy. Well, Dan works for AT&T, and he gets it. Thank you.
And thank you very much, and thanks for all you do.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. So his $1,000 will go to, his cell phone bill or something. And of course, he's going to pay for it. He's going to pay right back into the company because he has to pay for his benefits, which the cost has skyrocketed because they did away with the mandate, and that means that only sicker, older people are going to be in the insurance pool. And the CSR payments to the insurance companies, they haven't paid it. That went away in October, so that when they were pricing insurance for this year, for 2018, insurance premiums doubled. This is ridiculous. It ends up costing us more to live. Oh, and then don't forget net neutrality, okay? Net neutrality. I don't know why people have such a hard time describing what it is. It means exactly what it says. The internet is neutral regarding your content. You put something on the internet. You put your blog on the internet. You put your Facebook post on the internet. You tweet on the internet, whatever. The internet treats your content the same as it treats AT&T's content, the same as it treats CNN's content, the same as it treats MSNBC's content, the same as it treats, Breitbart's content. Okay, everybody's content gets delivered at the same speed because the net is neutral to who's doing the posting. That's net neutrality. Why do people have such a hard time explaining why an internet that doesn't judge you by your size, the one place where men are not judged by their size, is the net? Now, all of a sudden, you're going to be judged by your size again. Why are you for that? Makes you crazy, right? Yeah. John in Seattle.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I was in to let you know that I really think this is despicable. When Trump is actually passing this legislation that he's actually profiting from,
yes,
he's actually making money on the actual legislation that he's passing today in front of everyone.
And so did a whole bunch of Republican House members and senators. At least 13 senators personally profited from this.
And then you have Orrin Hatch getting up in front of the gallery, and he's worth $4.7 million, and he's in a position of saying, "Oh, we're not going to be greedy, or we're not going to be apolitical or partisan about this." That just stinks.
Well, look, this is easy to fact check, and that is, all you have to do is look at whether or not they had any hearings that included Democrats. Did they pass the bill to the Democrats, an hour before they were to vote on it, or months before they were to vote on it? Well, the answer is they gave it to them an hour before they had to vote on it. There are tons of, tweets of Tester in Montana and Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts, all sitting there, doing Periscope and tweeting and Facebooking. This is the bill. We just got it an hour ago, and now she said, I spend more time picking out a refrigerator than I get to read this bill. So obviously they left out Democrats.
They didn't use a CBO score to actually.
There is no CBO score. I know. And the Joint Committee on Taxation, the people that looked at the Senate and House version had to guess what's in this melange, this mix, this conference bill. But they all agreed, and so did the Senate parliamentarian yesterday, that the bill cost more than $1.5 trillion, even with dynamic scoring, which is an accounting trick. It actually cost $2.2 trillion. The Senate parliamentarian would not let the Senate vote on the bill as it came out of the conference committee because they found that it violated the rules of reconciliation, meaning it couldn't cost more than $1.5 trillion. So in the middle of the night last night, they had to take stuff out of it, which they'll put in the next bill. The cost will be the same. It'll just be in two different vehicles. And of course they did with reconciliation because they didn't care to win over Democrats or hear their ideas. And when they settled on reconciliation, irregular order, what they were settling on is, now we don't have to listen to Democrats. Now we don't have to listen to any of their ideas. We don't have to listen to any of their, input. Because they're not, they won't vote with us anyway. Because frankly, we're going to skew this so that the blue states, where there are Democrats, pay for the red states. And that's exactly what happened here. And they can't agree on how much anybody gets. Somebody says $4,000. This one says $1,182 a year. Another one says $2,000. They don't know. They're making this crap up, but they're out there selling this because they never forget to add insult to injury. And the insult is they are just spewing numbers. Somebody will tell you 4,000. Someone will tell you 2,000. Someone tells you 1,182. Definitely. That's like the Rain Man of senators. 1,182 a year. Definitely. 1,182. 82. What? Nah. I mean, they're just making this crap up. Because they don't know. It wasn't scored. Of course it was partisan. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.